Howdy gang, and welcome back to Pool School. In today's hopefully short episode, I'm going to talk to you about changing the sand in your sand filter. Why you need to do it, and when you need to do it. So what do you say we get started? Okay, before we go any further, I want to thank you for watching. I want to remind you to like this video if you do, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and please share this channel with your friends, family members, co-workers, schoolmates, classmates, chums, anybody you know who owns a pool and is maybe looking to save a buck or two servicing their pool themselves. Alrighty, so you have a pool that has a sand filter in it, and I'm not going to go over details about the sand filter and how it works. If you've not seen my video on pool filters, 3 kinds, I will put a link to that video in the description below this video so you can watch that, and I'd highly recommend you do so. Basically, sand in a sand filter, sand is the medium or substance that filters your pool water, okay? So the water flows through the sand is thick enough and semi-permeable enough that the water will flow through, but it will trap certain size particles that then clear the water and put fresher water or clearer water back into your pool. And that's how the sand filter works, right? That's really how most filters work. It depends on the medium. Cartridges use fabric and DE uses DE. But from time to time, that sand gets old and you need to replace it, okay? So here's what happens. Your sand over time starts to actually deteriorate, and it starts to clump together. And when that sand starts to clump together, too much water can pass through it, and it doesn't create enough of a semi-permeable membrane to trap the particulates and the little particles of dust and stuff in your pool water, and so too much dirty water gets through. And imagine like if you're in a sandbox, and have you ever seen sandbox where the sand gets clumped together and then you kind of crush it up, all right? Well, it gets hard like that, and it gets really hard like rocks, and at that point it's time to change out your sand, okay? So that's really why you need to change your sand. It's in order to keep it efficiently doing its job as best as it can. Okay, now let's talk about when. Now the when to change your sand in your filter, it is a fairly broad range. I have seen filters need their sand replaced after 3 years of use with fresh pool sand, and all the way up to 7 years of pool use. It really kind of depends on water. I'm not sure about molecular structures and chemistry, and I've talked to you about, I'm not a chemist, but anywhere between 3 to 5 years, your sand does need to be replaced in your filter. And one of the best ways to tell is you can tell if your filter is not doing its job. If you're running your filter the way you should, the amount of hours that you should, and you've been backwashing it according to schedule and as needed, and you've got your chemistry and everything well in your pool, and you got your phosphates under control, and all your skimmer baskets and pump baskets are emptied frequently and everything's running clean, and you notice your pool is just getting dirty, or you notice as your vacuum goes around your pool, dirt blows back into your pool, that might be a good indicator that your sand is gone hard, if you will, and it's time to replace your sand. But I'd say anywhere from 3 to 7 years is kind of the broad range of when you might need to change the sand out in your filter. Now, many people would love to see a video on changing the sand in your filter, and I will do one on that, but to tell you quite frankly, I actually don't change sand in filters anymore because honestly it is a pain in the butt to do. It is a long, arduous process. It's messy, it's sloppy, and it takes a long time. However, I will do a video next after this one on how to change the sand or replace the sand in your filter should you decide that you want to do it yourself. But in all honesty, I would highly recommend, this is one of those times when you should take advantage of the money you've saved, contact a professional who is licensed, insured, and bonded, and maybe get some referrals from friends on someone to come out and change the sand in the filter, in your filter, okay? Like I said, it's just a really messy process, and Like again, I'll do a video on changing the sand in your filter, how to do it. But again, that's going to be, I'm going to talk you through it because I don't do that anymore. I've done many ones, but I just don't do it anymore because it's a messy job. So again, if you decide that you want to change the sand in your filter, or it's time to change the sand in your filter, my best suggestion is hire a professional to do it, okay? One thing to keep in mind, two things. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to doing that. When you hire somebody to do it, usually in Arizona, they don't cart away the old sand because it's heavy, it's wet, and it's really hard to haul away, and they'd have to dump it somewhere. So a lot of times what they do is they just leave it next to the filter. Make sure you ask the person who is going to do the sand replacement what they do with the sand. You might be able to get them to haul it away for an extra cost, or like I said, if it's set by your equipment and it's used out in like some rough area, like a lot of people out here have them around rocks and things like that, they just rake it into the rocks and then it eventually settles in. Or they scoop it up and they put it out in their yard somewhere where they need to maybe level it, because it then, level a low spot in their lawn or something. So that's another thing that you can do with the sand. But it's really not super expensive to get your sand changed, and it's probably worth it to have somebody else do it for you because it can really be a messy hassle. A real quick note on why I think it's a good idea to have somebody else replace the sand in your filter. Remember I said it's worth it to pay the money? In Arizona, the typical average cost to replace the sand in a sand filter is anywhere between $250 and $500. Now let me clarify that. For the smaller sand filters, you're looking at about $250 to $350. And then depending on how hard it is to access the actual sand in there and how hard it is to access the filter, depending on where it's located in your yard. And then for the larger filters, it's anywhere from $350 to $500. So that sounds like a lot, but if you're only doing replacing the sand in your filter every 5 years, 5 to 7 years, that's not very bad. And it's worth it to save yourself the hassle and headache of doing it yourself. So folks, there it is, a fairly short video, I hope, on replacing the sand in your filter, why you need to do it, and when you need to do it. I hope it made sense. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below this video. Or if you want, you can email me directly, and my email address will appear at the bottom of the screen. As always, it is kennypoolschool@gmail.com. Once again, kennypoolschool@gmail.com. I want to thank you again for watching, remind you to like, subscribe, and share this channel. And until I see you next time, remember, it is pool season. It is swim season. So please have fun, be safe, and always watch those kids and elderly people and pets around water. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.